graphing calculator called Desmos. And so I will show you how to use that. We'll do it on Excel and then we'll go over to Desmos and we'll graph it there. So we'll do both. Grab the homework. We'll do the correct first. So for the co-rec homework, this one is more basic. You're not having to use technology. It gives you the equation. So this example was Paige collected data on how long she spent on her phone compared to how much battery life was remaining. And it's hour. I think they're both in hours. But this would be time on the phone and the battery life. Would it be a positive or negative relationship? Anyone?
Negative.
Negative.
Yep. Oh, you're welcome, Sophia. Okay. So yes, it's a negative relationship because the time you spend on your phone, the more time you spend, time increasing, the battery life will decrease. So it should show a negative relationship. When you're plotting the points, we know that the amount of time on the phone causes the battery life to go down. So that means that time on the phone would be your X and your battery life would be your Y. When you're plotting the points, you just go 1 on the X, 8 on the Y, so over 1 and up 8. Over 2 and up 7.
Should I print this right now?
You can, or you can just draw a graph, a chart, and then put them. You don't have to have the paper. It's up to you. So if you don't want to print it, you can just draw an axis and draw or plot the points. So 3.5, 7. 4, 5.3. Oops, 4. 6, 5. 7. 8. Okay. So it should look something like this. Is there any questions on plotting points? Okay, then we want to draw the line. So it says graph the points on the graph to make a scatter plot. So this would be your scatter plot. Draw a possible trend line. That just means it does not need to be exact. It should be somewhere between your data. So I would probably put it about here. And it's going to cut through the middle of your data. So if it just says draw a trend line through your data, it doesn't have to be exact. Any questions on that part? Now, if the trend line is negative 0.75x plus 9, how much battery life is there after 3.6 hours? Well, we need to plug it in, right? What do we plug it in for, X or Y?
X. X.
Mm-hmm. Because this is how much time is spent on the phone. We're looking for battery life, and we said battery life was Y, so we plug it in for X.
And then we just plug that into our calculator.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what are we getting?
I got 6.3.
So if there's 3.6 hours used on the phone, there'll be 6.3 hours left on your battery. Is everyone getting 6.3? And make sure you write it as a sentence. How many hours before the battery life runs out? What would we do on that one?
We would put 0 for Y.
Because we want to know when the battery life runs out. That means there's no battery life, and battery life is the Y value. So we plug in 0 for Y. Go ahead and solve for X. What's the first thing you did to solve for X?
Subtract 9.
Excuse me. We're trying to get this by itself, so excuse me, subtract the 9. We're still trying to get X by itself, so what will we do next?
Divide by negative 0.75.
Because we're multiplying, we divide. And what do we get for X?
Positive 12.
So battery life runs out in about 12 hours. Any questions on that?
Actually, yes. How did you, I believe it was draw the trend line? I didn't quite catch that.
I just drew a line between the data.
So
Nothing
how
exact.
do
It needs,
all right.
yeah, it's just so if you had something like that, you're just drawing an estimate of what the trend line would be, and it would just go through your data. Nothing specific.
All right.
Any other questions? Okay. Number 4, explain the slope and the y-intercept. Well, our equation is y equals negative 0.75x plus 9. So if we're going to explain the slope, which one of those values is the slope?
Negative 0.75.
No, do we want to keep it as the decimal or do we want to round it
Keep
or
it
use a
decimal.
fraction?
I kept it as a decimal.
Okay, then we'll keep it as a decimal. So this is our slope. over 1, because when you explain slope, rise over run, or change in y over change in x, our y is our battery life. And our x is time on the phone. So how could we explain it? Does someone want to give their sentence?
Each additional hour that she uses her phone, her battery life decreases by 0.75 hours.
Exactly. Nice. Each additional that she is on the phone Or you could have used 3/4 of an hour. Any questions on that?
So we don't have to like convert it to minutes or anything, right? Since it's only like
Correct. No, you can just keep it hours.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So if that's the slope, the y-intercept is 9. And remember, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. Does anyone want to interpret the y-intercept or explain it?
If Paige does not use her phone at all, then the phone will have 9 hours of battery life.
Yep. Any questions on that? Any questions? Okay. So for these ones, we're looking if there's a positive, negative, or no correlation. On the first one, the number of hours a person is driven and the number of miles driven. Positive? Positive? Nope, that's fine. So I agree, there would be a positive relationship. Number of hours driven. The more you drive, the more miles you're going to go. So as hours driven increases, the number of miles will increase, which means it's a positive correlation. Any questions on that? The number of siblings a student has and the grade they have in the math class.
No correlation.
Correlation.
No correlation. Although some students would argue that having too many siblings makes too much noise, which means you have a low math grade. But technically, there should be no correlation. Any questions on that one? How about the age of a car and its value?
Negative correlation. Negative relationship.
Now, I have had people argue the point on this one because depending on the car, the older it is, it may have more value. In most cases, it's negative. As soon as you pull it off the lot, it depreciates by something like 12%. So most cases, it's a negative correlation. But depends on car. Because there would be some that go up. Any questions on that? How about the last one? The number of songs downloaded on your iPod and the amount of memory available.
Negative correlation.
Negative? Does anyone know what an iPod is? Like, are they still used? I don't.
I used it when I was little, but
Yeah, I don't even know if my youngest son would know what an iPod is.
They still sell them because this Christmas I asked for AirPods because I was going to college and I needed them. And my mom accidentally got me an iPod for Christmas, and I was very, very confused. I have an iPhone, so I was very confused. So that's my funny Christmas story. Yes, they still make them, and they look really nice compared to the one I had in like middle school. But yeah, I got AirPods.
It's like,
I didn't get
after
AirPods. I got an
looked at this, I thought I need to update that question.
I had an iPod when I was little, but I never used it. I didn't know how to use it, so I'm just like, might as well give up, I guess.
Oh wow. I still have mine. I haven't used it though because I have Alexa and she just whatever room I'm in, I tell her to play music. But I don't know. I used it a lot before. Not so much now. But you could think of it like your phone. The amount of things you downloaded on, the memory will go, the amount of memory available will decrease. So it is negative.
I was reading 2A, and my printer right now doesn't have any ink. So I didn't know if you wanted me to print that out still or what you want me to do with that.
You don't have to print these. You can always just put 1A and put the answer, 1B, put the answer. You do not have to print these papers. You can write them out.
Okay, because for 2A it says to use Excel and print it out, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay. So when we use Excel, just take a picture of it. And then just attach the picture.
Thank you.
Yeah, the printing out was when we were in the classroom. We would do this in a lab, and so everyone would print it out. But since we're not handing them in, you don't have to print it. Okay. Any questions on the correlations, how to tell what they are? Okay. Now this one wants us to graph it. First, we're going to graph it on Excel, and then we're going to go over to Desmos and graph it so that you can see the difference. It is very user-friendly. Okay. So I already typed the data, so we wouldn't have to do that. But if you need to type it, go ahead and type it. And I took it right from number 2. The wave height is your X value because the height of the waves, this one was, the table shows the height of waves in feet at a beach and the number of surfers at the beach. So our height and surfers. Now these went together. When you're doing your project, make sure both numbers come from the same piece of data. So on the beach, when the waves were 3 feet high, there were 24 surfers. On the beach, when the waves were 6 feet high, there was 61 surfers. They have to go together. You can't mix the numbers up. And that's why it's called a pair or set. It goes together. Okay, so once you type them, you can highlight them. And then just like the other graphs, we go to insert. So highlight and then insert and then over to scatter plot.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if we assume that the height of waves means the number of surfers increases, I know we don't know that, but would an outlier be like if this wave is this height, then only a few surfers go because everyone else is scared, I guess, or it's not safe or something?
Right, that would probably be an outlier.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just needed to clear that up for myself.
Yep. And we could put an outlier in here after we get the numbers. Okay, so just to make sure, click and highlight your data. And that's when you hold down the left click button. And then you go to insert, scatter plot. Now, if one of these, say it was, I don't know what height, we'll say 15-foot waves, and there was 5 surfers, that's going to be an outlier. It's out there by itself. A lot of times, if that happened, they probably take those ones out. So then their R value's not so far off. But that can happen. I'm going to put it back. What was it? 4 and 35. So if we were going to draw a trend line, we would draw one that went right through the middle of this. And when we click on trend line, we'll see that it does. Is there any questions on getting the scatter plot? And so on any of this, if you are having trouble, if you go to the IT guys, they're very helpful on everything. The one time my computer crashed and I took it there and I got it fixed for free. So always ask them for help on technical things. Now there's 2 ways, depending on your computer, to get the trend line. If I click on my graph, this comes up. And I can get from here my axis titles so that I can type them in and the trend line. Now, if you don't have that, then you notice how this is stuck on home. If I go over to chart design, it gives me add chart elements. So make sure you're not on home because sometimes that happens. Go over to chart design and you'll have add chart elements. Not everyone has the plus sign, but just about everybody should have this. And then for the axis titles, this is right here. This gives you your horizontal and your vertical. And then down to trend line. So add chart element, down to trend line, and then more options. So either case, you go all the way down to trend line and then more options. And when you do that, this pops up. Now, we don't want this one. The one we want is it shows a bunch of little graphs. And that's this one here. Notice it says trend line options. We want linear. And then we go to the very bottom. Notice it says display equation and display R squared. You want to check both of those. And then the equation comes up. And you can highlight it and make it
Wait, how
bigger.
did you get the equation to show up?
Whoa, that's way too big. So to get the equation to show, went under chart elements, trend line, and more options. And then this comes up. Now, depending on which one of these it's on, you want to make sure it's on the end one. So if it's on one of the other ones, just highlight it. Make sure it's on linear. And then go to the very bottom, and they're right here. So you click on both of them, and it brings them up. Any questions on that? So you either use the plus sign or add chart elements. And to get chart elements, it needs to be on this. And you can also use different things to have it look differently depending on what you want.
I'm sorry, I just got Excel loaded up. So I just click add chart element, chart design, I click a chart, and then how do you insert your points? You just click on the chart.
You just type these.
Okay.
Oh, you mean, or do you mean to put them on the chart?
Yeah, how do I get them on the chart? And like,
Okay.
I'm like real late because I just got Excel to load.
That's okay. So we highlight them first, and then we go to insert and scatter plot. So highlight the data, insert, scatter plot, and then we'll bring it up. There's different ones to choose from. That's kind of different.
What do we do for our access titles, like the Y and the
Mhm.
X access titles?
Okay, so then to bring your access titles, you can go here, and we can click on both of them, or you can get them from here. To type on them, then you just click on them, and then I always highlight them so they'll what's there deletes. And X was wave height.
6.
And this was number of surfers. And this could be
$24, 61, 56.
Is there any questions on that part? I'm going to bring the graph up again. I mean, the equation. So add chart elements.
Oh, I'm still unmuted. I'm sorry.
What?
I was still unmuted that whole time.
Okay.
I was like talking to myself.
Okay, so
I just got all my points, not my points, my numbers put in. I highlight, and then do I right click them? Or I go up to
yeah, highlight these, go to insert and scatter plot, and then the scatter plot will come up.
scatter plot. I'm sorry, is it at the top somewhere? I clicked insert.
Oh, right here.
Oh, the little arrow.
Yeah,
Oh,
the one with the dots.
mine looks completely different.
Yeah, depending on your computer, it could look a little different, but it should still say scatter. Chart design.
Oh, I think it calls it line in mine. Display trend over time, date, years, and order of categories.
Maybe. Right, when you go to insert and you do the scatter plot, the chart design automatically comes up. Because these are the different designs you can use. If it doesn't come up, sometimes you have to double click the chart. You can pick whichever one you want. Put your axis titles from here or from here, and then you just click on them and type what you want.
Whenever I highlight my numbers, whichever number I start on, when I highlight it, doesn't highlight.
It's highlighted. It's just letting you know that's the start. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it will leave the one, but it's still there. Any questions so far?
I'm still trying to find the scatter plot. Can you show me where it is on yours again?
Mm-hmm. Under insert, and then where all your other graphs are that we did, the bar graph, the histogram, it's with those.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the little arrow that brought the rest of them up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you might have to open it more. But it's right there. And you want this one. These are a little too large. I don't know. They're neat for some things, but not for this. Okay. For
And then how did you get your little plus sign?
I just click on it and it's automatically there. Some
Got it.
computers do not have that because it's an updated version. You want to go to add chart elements if it doesn't have it.
And where's that?
At the top left.
Why is mine so different?
Now, another student had, and it was because of the type of computer that she had, you might have to go to the IT guy and have it updated in order to do it, but I will show you another program that will work. It works on Chrome, it works on your HP, it will work on, I forget the other programs now. But it should be right here. Now there's also ways of adding things. Like if you go under File and down to Options, because it used to be for the histogram, you had to go File and down to Options. And then do it's not doing it. Oh, add-ins, there it is. You go to add-ins, and this is the one the histogram steps. So this could work too, but you go to add-ins and then there. I don't know, my computer's moving really slow. I think I have too much open. You click go, you click in your tool packs. So these might be downloads that you might need. And then it'll bring up more things for you. So you could try that, and then that might bring this up. But if not, I would talk to your IT guy at YSU.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it should let me just change the name or something, right? Right off the bat.
yeah, you would just, whatever name's there, you just click on it and you can change it.
Yours might be like mine. I can't click on it and change the words. I have to like go into I don't know how to explain it. Like go into the chart and you have to like hit an option to change the vertical or the horizontal axis. Like you can't just click on it and do it.
Oh yeah, I'm used to that.
Like an ins.
Like I know I don't have a MacBook, so if you don't have one either, that might be why it's doing that.
Yeah, I right click it, and then I go to format, and it gives me horizontal axis and vertical axis, but it doesn't give me name options.
It should say like under that, there should be an option to like if there's like a little arrow or something, you should be able to like edit the name. Like it should say edit vertical
Oh
axis.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
series name.
Sometimes that also works for your trend line. If you go to one of the points and right click, it will bring this up. And you can add your trend line. And then it brings this up to get your equations. So what I did was I picked a point and I right clicked it. And then I went down to add trend line. And then it brought it up over here. So that's another way that you might be able to get it to come up.
Yeah, my Excel just stopped responding, so.
Technology. Okay, so when you click this one, it gives you your equation. Clicking the one below that gives you r squared. So there's 3 ways. Hopefully one of them will work for you, but the plus sign, add chart elements, right click onto a point. Now, if this isn't working for you, I will show you another way. I emailed a video to one of the students yesterday and they seemed to like it. They were in my other class. But let's write the equation and the r squared down on our paper first so we can compare. Y equals 9. Any questions on this?
Mine like doesn't have the option for like the chart format, so I can't get any farther than having the scatter plot up. And like I labeled my axes and stuff, but I can't get the equation up. I can't insert the line. It won't let me right click the dots like you were doing.
That was
So another student had this problem and they went to the IT guy and he was able to get the version on there so that you can use it. I will show you another thing that you can use instead. But I think this works really nice for other classes when you're trying to do graphs. So I do recommend going and seeing him to get it up on your computer. But I will show you another way of doing it.
Okay.
So write these down if you didn't already. And we will go to a different version. Now the other one even goes more decimal places, so it's a little more accurate, but it should come out the same. Okay. Stop sharing.
I've run into another problem.
Okay.
So when I go under the format and I change the name I try and do the horizontal and vertical axis, it makes it, it changes both. So if I change one to waves height and then one to surfers, it doesn't keep the last one. It changes it back.
I don't know. We'll have to look at that separately then. I don't know why it would do that. It might be again something if you get an update at the IT desk, they will it will straighten it out.
Well, I mean, I can call them, but I'm on my home desktop.
Oh, yeah, I would call.
basically they just made me go to like the Youngstown like YSU website, and then I just had to go through a couple like 4 or 5 links, and it gave me a remote desktop. So it's not through Google, it's like through YSU. It's a remote desktop of everything you can get through the YSU website. So like Excel, Word, all of that. Like it gives you a remote desktop, like what they would have on campus.
Okay.
It's a fake desktop. And
That's
of course, since it's fake, the Excel is the full version. So I don't have like the new version downloaded on my computer. I'm using like a remote desktop.
Well, that makes sense. But that's good then, because they may even have other things that you need to use for another class, and then you'll have them there. Okay, so Desmos, let me start with it here. When you're going into Desmos, the first thing you type is Desmos, D-E-S-M-O-S. You hit enter. And it's this one right at the top. So I just typed Desmos, D-E-S-M-O-S. And then I click on it. And you want the graphing calculator. Now you can, if you need equations for lines for something, it automatically starts with lines. So x plus 5 would look like this. X, where's my carrot? Squared would look like this. So it's just set up for regular lines right now when you first get in. Is everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now to get scatter plots, you want to click on the 3 lines that are at the top left. And we need to go down to, if you're fine with Excel, you do not have to use Desmos. You want to go down to statistics. So you have to scroll down until you see statistics, which is right here. There's 2 of them, oh, 3 of them. But we use the first one, linear regression. A trend line is straight line and R squared is regression. So it's the first one here. And it's going to give us an example. So you click on it and click on Open Graph. No, they already have a sample. So I'm just going to go in and delete it. So you can just highlight it and just backspace and go down. If you hit enter, then it's just going to keep adding to, which is fine, but you do want this one deleted. So I just go through and delete them all. And then I put ours. So our wave height was 3, 6, 5, 1, and 4. Other was 20, 24, 61, 56, 15, and 35. Now notice it's not showing any of the points. The reason it's not showing the points, notice these numbers. And this is only going up to 12. So you need to shrink it. There should be plus or a minus. I just use my fingers because I have a touch screen. Well, there we go. But there's our points, there's our line. And we can so it's kind of neat, and it does a lot of graphs. The other thing that's nice is notice the line's already there. And if you go down over on the left, right here, it's already there. You have your R squared, you have your M and your B. You don't have to do anything. So it is a lot nicer. If you want to be able to save graphs, then you can sign up and become, and I believe it's free. I know to use it is free, so I would think to be a member would be free. But then you could save things. Notice the R squared 0.9226, and we had the exact same thing. The slope 9.94595. So it went one more decimal place. And this one went 2 more decimal places. Any questions on that? Yeah, so it's kind of nice. Now, if you do choose to use this, you can take a picture of it, or right here is sharing. So then you can share the graph, export it, or email it to yourself, but you can export it, download it, and save it. Sometimes PNG doesn't always open on my computer, so if it doesn't open, I'll let you know, and then you can just send me a picture of it. Any questions on it?
I honestly just took a picture with my phone and just attached it.
Yeah.
Instead of like downloading it.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine. And you know, the picture's kind of nice too, because then you can show the equation over here in your picture, whereas when you send it, it's not giving us the equations. So a picture is nice because then I can see this also. Any questions? Okay. So we have the equations written down. Explain how strong the relationship between the data is using R squared. So R squared is 0.9226. How could, and these only need to be a sentence. If I was going to have a paragraph, I would have you put all of it in one paragraph. So each one of these would just be a sentence. What is one sentence we can use then for part B to explain what R squared is or is giving us?
I said the relationship between the height of waves and the number of surfers is strong because R2 is closer to 1.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I said,
And
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I said something similar, but I said that it was a strong relationship because the R squared is above 0.5. Because I remember hearing something about I think it was in the book about like if it was like 0.5 or above, then it's a strong relationship.
Yes. Yeah. The book goes by 0.5. So as long as it's 0.5 or above, there is a relationship. And the closer it is to 1, the stronger it will be.
Could you explain like what R2 is exactly again?
Yeah. Here, let me finish writing this. I'll use shorthand. Okay. R squared tells you how close the line is. So this one R squared tells you how close these points are to the line. If we had to find this by hand, we would find the distance between all of these. And then you find the standard deviation. And so it's a lot of work to do it by hand, but what it's doing is finding the average of how far away all these points are. And the closer it is to 1, then the closer the points are to the line and the more accurate it is.
Okay, so you got the R2 from Excel or R squared from Excel.
Right.
Okay.
That came from Excel or Desmos, whichever one. It gave us the equation and R squared. So the closer it is to 1, the stronger it is. The closer to 0, the weaker. So this is a pretty good estimate, this line. And that way then, depending on how high the waves are, they know approximately how many surfers will be there. And then they can decide how many lifeguards they need to have at the beach, because they know it's a strong relationship. Any questions on that? Okay. Explain the slope of the trend line. So the slope, is that the 9.9 or the 0.4?
The 9.9.
Okay. And I'm going to round that, since it's people, I'm going to round it to 10. I'm going to put the 9.9 first. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x, so we write it as a fraction. Our y was surfers, and x was height of waves. Okay, does anyone want to say what their sentence would be?
Each additional foot of wave will increase the amount of surfers by 10.
Yeah. So each additional foot of waves increases the amount of surfers by 10. Forget how I said it. I said as waves increase by a foot, the number of surfers increases by 10. So either way. Any questions on that? Okay. The y-intercept. The y-intercept is the 0.4. The y-intercept is when x is 0. Does anyone want to give their sentence?
If there are no waves, there will be 0.4 people surfing, which doesn't equal a whole person, so no one will be out surfing.
Exactly. So it's saying when there's no waves, there's no surfers. And actually, this does round to 0. So you could put that, or you could put the 0.4. I wouldn't take off for that, definitely. But it does mean, because x is 0, there's no waves. So you could have 0.4, or you could have 0, or you could put no surfers, which makes sense. If there's no waves, there's no surfers. But the 0.4 is the one person who just needs to get one more surfing in, and they're going to hope that a wave shows up. Any questions on that? How many surfers might be at the beach if the waves are 2 feet high? What do we do?
Do we plug in 2 feet to our equation?
Mm-hmm. So we take our equation. Now, would we plug the 2 in for x or y?
X.
Mhm. When you're doing it, don't round, so keep the whole decimal. This one has the XL, but if you did the Desmos, I have it on my other paper, so we could check your answer.
I did mine on Desmos, so I got 20.29.
20.297305. Let's see how different it is. Point. Okay, not the same. 20.2972. And we can't have part of a surfer, so 20 surfers. When the waves are 2 feet high, there's approximately 20 surfers. Any questions on that? Okay, is there any questions on Desmos? Do you need to try one more on that or see one more?
Yeah, can you do something like this on Desmos and then what was I gonna say? Can we use Desmos on the project or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's compatible with everything.
Yep. Yeah, we can.
I'll just learn that one then contacting IT.
Yep. Okay, so now Desmos won't do, I don't know about the histogram and the pie chart and stuff, but it will definitely do the scatter plot. But I guess we can look at it and see. So if we go over there, the one I'm going to do, if you look at your co-rec homework, I'm going to do those points, the time on the phone and the battery life, and we can see that the lines will be similar. So it was 1, 2, 3.5, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Oh my goodness. 9. I think I might have typed one wrong. Oh,
The 3.5 is 35.
yeah. They knew something had to be off. That looks better. So if you type, wait, did I miss a couple? 1, 2, 3.5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8, 7, 7, 5.3, 5, 3.5, 2.5, 2.5. I just repeated it. So it should look like this. Is there any questions on that? Then if we go down here, it has our equation, and I just rounded. Actually, I think I took this problem off the internet, but negative 0.75, so it's a little bit different.
How
And
did you, sorry,
go ahead.
how'd you get the trend line?
It automatically puts it.
Oh, mine did not.
Okay, so when you clicked here, you use statistics with linear regression.
Oh, the add number? The add symbol?
No. Hold on, let me go back.
Oh, that
It's
F1,
the
okay.
3 lines at the top.
Yeah.
You want to click the 3 lines and then go down to statistics linear. You have to go ways down. And that will bring up this chart, which then automatically does the line, which is nice. This is already done for you.
Oh yeah, but for some reason it just put whole new values in.
Right, you have to delete those values. It will automatically put those in. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So it is very user friendly. These numbers are a little different because I probably rounded it to make the problem nice, like the 0.75, because I might have went with 3/4 of an hour instead of 0.72.
So I'm typing them all in. How did you get the like equation and stuff we used in the last problem?
It gives it. It's right. It's right
Oh, okay.
here. Yeah. It just automatically does it. You don't have to click anything else. It just comes up, which is nice.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to believe it, you know. I'm just gonna keep asking.
Yeah, it's much easier than Excel. I guess because I was showing everything else on Excel and I'm just used to using it, but I think that Desmos works a little easier for this.
Yeah, I got what you have. Could you? I don't know if it was like already for you there, but you have like 2, 4, 6, 8, and mine counts by fives. Could I change that somehow?
Oh, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways of changing it.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I can count.
The way, oh, probably in here, changing things, and it also changes your size, zoom out. Zoom out and zoom in is what changes that. So if you hit the plus sign over here on the right, you can get it to go. And then we can move it around a little bit so we could see the whole graph.
Oh, okay, so I see where it gives us m and b and the r squared. So that r squared, that 0.9472,
Mhm.
is, so if it was 1, it'd be directly on the line? All the
Yes.
points. Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
And I'll show you one now we'll do. Is there any questions on this one? Okay, let's look at 1, 2, this 3, 4, 5. And go. 2. Okay. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I went 7, 8, 9. I skipped 6. And then I went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 16, and 18. If these were pairs that went together, notice they're right on the line.
Okay.
Notice your R squared. It's 1. When they are all on the line, r squared is 1. So if your r squared is 1, there is an exact relationship between your data. Every point is on the line.
Yeah.
If we made these each negative, so then it's going down, or how, 18. I was trying to get a z. That's pretty close to 0. Notice how the lines are pretty spread out.
Yeah, and your r squared is real small.
Yeah. And so, whoops, I hit. That's a bad thing about a touchscreen. But the data is spread all out. My r squared is close to 0. Notice this one, again, r squared is 1, but in this case, our data is decreasing. And that's one thing, if you notice the r before, when we had them all on the line and r squared was 1, the r was positive. This one's negative, so this r kind of tells you more information. It tells you it's decreasing. And so, but I don't know, maybe because Excel doesn't have r, the book only talks about r squared. But r squared and r tell the same information, except r tells you if it's positive or negative. And then r line. But is there any questions on that? So if it's all on the line, r squared is 1, and I definitely asked that on a test. If r squared is 1, what do you know about the points and the trend line? The points are all on the line. Any questions with Desmos or Excel? But if you're having trouble and getting frustrated with Excel, just use Desmos. And you'll have this recording, and I recorded a short version of using Desmo that's up on under the videos for this week. Any questions? I'm glad it was helpful. Yeah, and I think it's a lot. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I'm just so used to using Excel. I forgot about Desmos. Okay, well, if there's no questions, I don't want to start something new.